Hey yo, it's Guido coming back at you with a tactics talk, and I think an interesting one today. One of the things we've been talking about a lot. By the way, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you guys coming by on a lovely Saturday. At least I hope it's a lovely Saturday for you. I'm probably mowing the lawn right now, or close to it when this thing comes out. But anyway, one of the things we've been talking about lately a lot is the COVID hermit meta that has developed in the recent past. Lots of new players, lots of players coming back who haven't played for a long time. And it has really disrupted the game flow at all tiers. I would say especially at the mid tiers where most of them are living. Lower tiers has always been chaotic at best. But I'd say tier 6 to 8 has really had some very interesting things going on. I think that's where most people tend to play. Tier 10 is kind of the same as well, but we're going to talk about the mid tiers right here. It's also tied into something that I've been working on myself for my gameplay. So if you've watched me for any amount of time, you know that I have a lot of places I like to go. Consider that the critical terrain. I take almost any tank I play to that spot or to support that spot. And that is more of, and I wish it was me who came up with this, but I got this from one of you guys, but play the match, not the map, which is something I've always talked about but not prioritized as much. So I could get away with in the past going to the critical terrain, playing well, and sometimes dying there but still cranking out some damage, and only have to occasionally worry too much about how the match is going out. If you're doing it right, you're always doing that, and I talk about that on all the debriefs that we do and the replay analysis. And we should all strive to do that, to be able to read the match. And that's where you get your super unicum stuff. Right? When you become pretty good, you can go to that critical terrain and dominate. But the problem is if you don't react enough, you tend to die at that spot. And that's probably a 55% kind of person. Once you get above 55, you start reacting better to the local area and then to some extent the larger picture, the larger meta. When you start talking 60% win rates and above, this is somebody who is consistently analyzing the match and taking the map into consideration, but not prioritizing the map. And I flip-flop on that. So if you're 60% or above, you're always doing that, virtually always. You can't go with superlatives every time. It's not the absolute every time, but it's a lot more than me, right? Sitting around 58% or so most of the time. The COVID hermit infestation, which, by the way, great. They're coming back to play, new players. That's fantastic. I'm just making light of the situation overall right here, and we're all having a good time with it. But it has forced me to rethink this just a little bit, and it has helped me to start prioritizing a little bit more, hopefully. And I think I'm starting to do this with a little more consistency on analyzing the match as a priority over the map. And that's a hard one because there are priority spots, there are critical terrain, but sometimes the team doesn't do that, and you can't control that. So you have to react to that. And we talk about, the difference between a 51% player and a 50% player is one game in 100. That's it. So somewhere along the way, you're probably going to run into that one game that goes completely opposite of what you would expect for all kinds of reasons, whether it's a new player, and we're going to have this situation. Terra Q up there in the Lurva is a brand new player, and he goes nowhere I would have expected him to go. The rest of the team does some strange stuff. So let's talk about that as we go, because this happened after stream, and we actually had this discussion a little bit on the stream last week, and I was talking a bit about this. And so later in the day I sat down and played a few more games. It may have been a day later, I don't remember, but it was still fresh on my mind as I was thinking about it. I got into this game on Lakeville, spawned into the north, and I started watching what was going on. Now let's talk quickly, and I do talk about this a lot, but you need to be able to analyze this and start moving early, because some of the positions you want to get to, you need to get there first, or you would like to get there first. Okay, so start going towards that position, but pay attention to what the team's doing. A lot of people will sit on the cap and wait till everyone kind of goes to their spot, and then they'll make that decision. I feel like you need to be leaning forward a little bit more than that, but still be able to process what's happening and then react to it. So I'm watching myself, the Barask, and some other guys. The King Tiger's not moving. The Lurva has gone into the valley. I will be completely honest, I didn't quite notice the Lurva was in the valley until I got to about here, or maybe a little bit further forward. So we have the T-71DA coming over here, and we're going to stop and just take a look at this deployment, because this is very atypical. Some of you may go, well, it's really typical. Well, let's be honest, it's atypical. It's not really how this particular map is usually played, but it is a tier 6, 7, and 8 battle, and there were a lot of new players in here, and we're seeing this more so than we have seen in, I would say, the recent past in the last couple years. And I think it's actually kind of interesting, and I'm going to look at it as a glass half full kind of idea, at least for this video, as opposed to a glass half empty, because I can take a look at what's going on here and maybe change some of the things that I've been doing. All right, so nobody's going to town. That's the big deal. The meta on this map is to have someone, not many, watch the 1-2 line so that you don't get completely pushed through there in some YOLO rush. A couple campers on the center and most of your force into the town. You win the town, and then you decide whether you can push their cap or you have to flex back and stop their push through the valley, or start kind of picking them off at their cap down the south. That's the general way this works. But I'm looking at this, I'm looking the same. I've got an IS-22, a 4202, Charioteer, an IS, Chi-Ri on the other side. These are all pretty good tanks. An OI can push in there, the 3002, and we haven't seen anybody show up in the valley yet. We have a T-71DA. So I'm going to just slow my roll down a little bit right here while this comes in. Unfortunately, I missed this shot. I'm just a little bit too far back on the lead fire. And that was good because it let me kind of see if anybody was really coming my way. King Tiger looks like he hasn't loaded in. He's loaded in, but he's not moving. This is where I realized the Lurva is not coming my way, so we got a problem. And the 40T and the Udez, two of our other tier 8s, you would expect the Udez to be there. The 40T, a little bit surprised, sniping over there, and a couple scouts doing the scout thing. And I realized as I was getting about to here that this is not going to go very well for me alone in the town, especially if they push in. I get spotted. That's a bummer. So I'm not really going to surprise anybody. I don't want to go to this corner since I was spotted, because the artillery can hit that corner. So now I've got to back out, and I don't have any support. And the Barask hasn't even, he's bailed out. All right. In the past, I probably would have sat here and grumbled a little bit about this and said, well, I'll go ahead and get my 1,000 damage, and maybe I'll fight a fighting retreat, and maybe I'll get a couple guys, shoot them in the sides, and it'll be over, and I'll go to the next battle. Could be a valid response. This is a bummer. This is looking like a loss. I'm thinking right now that more than likely, as far as the odds go, all right, if I'm playing the odds on this map, my team's porked it away and it's pretty much over. All right, just dead men walking at this point. The only tonic for this will be the enemy team playing it poorly as well. But I'm probably not going to be able to hold off 3, 4, even 2 tanks with my tier 7 medium here in the city, and a couple already pooping on me along the way. So I need to change my plan. All right, so in the past I would have sat here, got mad, maybe fought a slight fighting retreat, and I get spotted, and that kind of helps me think about it and go, all right, this is just not really a good idea. We got a little bit of assist for my arty, and I'm thinking, well, do I come up here? I quite haven't made my decision, and then I just think, no one's coming my way, right? There is nobody. I'll go ahead and show you what I'm doing with my camera right there. Nobody is coming my way. The enemy team, fortunately, has not been super aggressive, and it's time just bail out of here, right? I'm going to have to do something else. The meta game play on the map hasn't developed. Thank goodness the enemy team has not rushed in very fast. This is what you're seeing a lot as well with the COVID Hermits. Very careful gameplay on both sides. So, fine. I will just go back here, and we will see if we can do something different. So I'm going to fall all the way back. I could stop right here, but these bushes are a bit problematic because they're not really great. There are some rocks to cover up, but there's not a great rock with bushes right next to it, because if they filter down to the bottom or come up to the top, there's too many angles right here, as well as there's angles to be shot from the road, which looks like I might not have too much trouble with that based on how far the 12T's gone forward, but still there may be somebody there, possibly from the lower part, although that Hellcat is out of draw distance, so it'd be kind of hard for him to hit me right there, plus the artillery. So I'm not going to stay forward. I actually stopped for a moment thinking about it, and I go, okay, nope, that's not even me either. I'm not doing this either. So there's the IS-22, and that's the guy I'm worried about. Had I run into that guy, it would have been over pretty quickly, right? And plus he's got friends, and I have to figure he's got friends. Now he's moving through. So the enemy team now is going to make a mistake. And this ties into other things we've talked about very recently as well, and kind of foot stomped quite a bit. And that is the fact that if you win a flank, don't go pushing into their cap with a bunch of defenders. And it's especially critical on a game like this because they, air quotes, won the flank, but they didn't kill anybody winning it. So clearly there's still 14 tanks on the enemy team. All right, my team, according to them, there's still 14 tanks out there, and more than likely, they're waiting for you to do this. I see the scout come out, and I'm not really sure why he's not raging. He's trying to be careful or something, and then he starts dying. And this is going to be a good tank to take out. Taking out scouts who are trying to be the eyes, that's a little critical damage, unfortunately. Shot went down on the ground. He's not going to be able to cover up. That rock, like I said, is problematic, even on the push, and down he goes. So the Lorraine takes that dude out. That's a good kill, and we got a little advantage 3-1. So we're going to hang out here and say, all right, we got to wait for a moment. Is the enemy team really going to push into a bunch of our snipers? Let's find out if that's what they want to do. The Udes took some hits, so it looks like he got spotted doing that. He's going to fall back, and yes, they are. All right, and that's fantastic. I think, okay, let's see how many hit points we can take off these guys. There's all three of their heavies, for whatever reason, have pushed out of town, out of the north part of the town, and they're getting absolutely shredded by all of the snipers sitting back here. So we'll just take some shots at this guy. Here comes the OI. It's a little bit unfortunate. Kind of goes up high and gets in maybe to his turret or something. Is smart enough to put his front armor to me. That's going to be hard for my little APCR round to go through. And I'm hoping I can get some shots on the IS because he's behind that rock. If he backs out just enough, that one goes down to the ground. We're just going to try to farm these guys a little bit. We got a Chi-Ri who's doing a nice job for his team on trying to find the snipers, right? He's coming in on the low ground right there. But unfortunately, he's in a big crossfire, at least for the moment. The Sturv 74 is doing a nice job with some spotting out there. We're trying to figure out how we can take this OI down. We've got him 7-5 at the moment, and this is looking pretty good. The push towards their cap has brought their campers into it, but it at least is keeping a few of their tanks busy. Notably, the Barask has had to go back to his cap, so we don't have to worry about him as much, at least for the moment. It's a very dangerous tank in this game, in this particular game, with the tier 8s that we have. And we lose our spotter up there, so I'm going to go ahead and back out. And now someone's got to go up there and start getting the light, so I will be that guy. All right, so I've fallen back, reacted. We farmed some of these guys. Good on the Sturv and the JPZ sitting up there, and now I'm going to move back forward and try to take down the rest of the guys that are in the city, because we'd like to get rid of them so we can get over there and start helping our push that's going up to their cap, because it's starting to lose. The Lurva has gone down. He's out of the game. There goes the OI. He's dead. I'm up to 1,700 damage, 255 assist. And now we need to track down this IS and the FV4202. Still doing a pretty good job over on the cap, so that's fine. They've got the Barask locked down and a couple guys hiding out in the back. Looks like one of their arties died. The King Tiger C dies. I'm keeping an eye on the Barask, and now we've got the 4202 right there. Try to dodge down here, and he hits me for 225. And I'm wondering, where is this IS? That's not good. I was hoping to have lit him, and there he is. He's on my side. I didn't notice him as I was coming in, and oh, there he is. But we get a little bit of assist out of that. He shoots us. Kind of knew I was going to take a hit. Had enough hit points to do that, so I figured I could take a hit from the IS and from the 4202, and hopefully we can then get some spotting to get rid of at least one of those guys. He's right there. This guy's, again, I think a pretty new player. Takes a hit from the artillery. I'm able to sneak out behind the rocks. He should knock down that building. If he just knocked down that building, he'd be in a lot better shape dealing with me. So we'll come in here. We're not very sure where that guy is. He's behind the double bush action. I'm taking a look at what's going on. Our Barask is raging in to take on theirs. The Lorraine is still up there. The Udes has moved forward, and the poor 4202 is looking for a way to escape. And now I know I'm going to take some hits, but I'll just go ahead and shoot him. He's not even really looking at me, so he's having a little bit of a struggle as a new player there. And then he decides, you know what, I'm just going to go get this annoying guy who's been shooting me. I don't like that. I was looking backwards trying to figure out where I could get away from him. We'll put a shot into him. I don't want him to ram me. Thank goodness he hit the building first. He takes a hit. Goes by me. I guess his gun was up, giving up, or whatever he was doing. 2,435 damage, 1,188. And a kill in there, and I think a great example of kind of what's going on in the meta as a small trend item during the Rona emergency right here. But I think a larger discussion about the more nuanced parts of reading a map. The fact that if you want to get close to that 60%, you're going to have to start reacting to matches like this, because when you talk a full percentage is 1 game in 100, you're going to run into one of these at least 1 game in 100. So if you can do the right thing in games like these, turn them into a W for you, as opposed to raging into what you call the critical train, what I would call the critical train being the city, and then just dying in place and hoping the damage you did was enough for your team to win. I ended up at the end of the game and was able to help us secure a win on what was a non-meta, strange kind of way to win Lakeville. And I guess it's not necessarily a strange way to win Lakeville. I mean, if you win a flank and push into a bunch of snipers, you're going to probably have a hard time. That's what the team we were facing ended up doing, and that applies to any map. But there was no big battle in the town, and that's what's a little bit strange for a Lakeville game like this one. Just some food for thought for you guys out there. It's a work in progress for me as I continue to try to be a little bit more reactive to the matches, maybe a little bit earlier. Pretty good at going to spots and locking down spots, especially if I have a little bit of help. Slightly less capable on early analysis of doing the non-meta thing on maps. So that's coming along, working on it. Hopefully this was a good example for you guys and you learned a little bit. If you did, throw me a subscribe, follow, whatever you want down there. Appreciate the support of the channel. If you're looking for other ways to do so, you can find those also down in the description. That's all I've got for Saturday. Have a good one, guys, and we will see you. Hey, make sure you come see us on Sunday morning for the podcast. We'll be doing it live on Twitch at 7 Central Time tomorrow.